Welcome to Dark Horse Auto and Diesel. If you've got a 7.3 Power Stroke and your coolant bottle looks like this, which it likely does at this point, or it's even worse and is leaking like mine is, you can actually see some coolant residue there. I'm going to show you how to replace this thing. It's actually really simple. Now obviously the first thing we need to do is drain some of the coolant out. We don't need to drain the whole system, we just need to drain out enough that it's no longer in the bottle. Then you'll need to come under the truck and find your drain cock, something I typically struggle with on a daily basis. And look for this. What you're going to want for that is a 3/4 inch socket, and as long as no knuckle dragging ham-fisted moron tighten it up too much before you, you should be able to just loosen it up by hand. And I like to put a little hose on the end of it just to control where it goes. And make sure you open this up too, at least a little bit. Just take it completely off. Otherwise you're going to be here for like a week waiting for it to drain because it creates a vacuum in the system. Now I'm reusing my coolant, so I just got a couple clean jugs here. If you haven't done one yet, this is a great time to do a coolant flush, since you already have to drain some of the coolant out. One of these days I'll have a video for that. When I do, I'll put a link in the description. But otherwise we're just draining out just as much as we need, which will end up being roughly 2 gallons. But unfortunately, I have to drain all of mine because, you know, as luck would have it, it's been rubbing on there. So, yay, new lower radiator hose. So now that our coolant's drained down low enough, we'll just work on getting our bottle out of here, and that's extremely simple. You know, you just take that off. Ooh, those aren't supposed to be that tight, but I guess that's what happens when it never really gets used. I think we'll be putting some anti-seize on that. Holy crap. And that gives us access to that bolt. And then we need to take these two out down here. And those are 8mm or 5/16, whichever you prefer. Then we'll just pop this little hose off right here. Probably could have done this before we unscrewed it, but it's fine. Now hopefully your clamp is in a position to where you can actually get to it. We need to take that clamp off right there, and then this whole thing will just lift right out of here. Alternatively, you can go down and just unhook this hose from the radiator and just pull the hose out with it. It might be a little easier, and depending on the position of your clamp, you might have to anyway. But I was lucky enough that obviously I didn't have to do that. Because if you do have to do that, then obviously you have to drain all of your coolant, which sucks. Next, we'll take our brand new, or in my case, brand used, coolant bottle and get it stuck on that hose and just reverse the procedure. I paid like, I think $2 for this at a junkyard, which is way cheaper than the Dorman. And the problem with the Dorman is you really can't see through it very well. At least with the OE style you can. So, yeah, if you get lucky enough to find one that's still in good shape, buy it, use it. And there we go, we got the clamp back on. It's a little difficult to do that and have a camera in there, so you'll just have to use your imagination. Then we'll just get our screws started back in. Snug them up gently. Then reattach this hose. Then get your tire iron stuck back on there, and yeah, little anti-seize. Next, go ahead and refill your coolant reservoir, and it may take a little bit of time for it to kind of drain down before you can get all of it back in that you drained out, just because it's got air in the system, and it's actually possible that you won't get it all back in until you've run the engine a few times. That way it can cycle and get all the air out, but just be mindful of that. Just carry some extra coolant with you for the next couple days until things kind of even out for you. And at this point, one thing I would recommend, if you do have a coolant pressure tester, go ahead and hook it up, and that way you can just check for leaks that way, because if you don't know, cooling systems are under pressure. This one is 16 psi. So the idea of that would be to just, you know, pressurize it now so that you can check for leaks ahead of time instead of waiting until the engine gets warm and going down the road and then possibly have a leak. But I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to take my chances and drive, you know, about 150 miles away. So hopefully it works. Alternatively, you could also just start it up and let it run for a good 30 minutes, check for leaks that way. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing. Get the truck fired up because I'm getting ready to go to work here. So now just check everything over for leaks, and so far it looks like we're doing pretty good here. I didn't realize how bad that lower radiator hose was until now. That thing was really hanging down there. I guess that's what happens when it has over 500,000 miles on it.